G'day viewers, my name's Graeme Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Good morning, Rosie.
Hey, Graeme.
How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at some of your work today?
Yeah, you want to come through the
That'd be
studio?
marvellous.
Okay.
Great stuff. Beautiful house.
Thank you. We love living here. So this is my little yellow art studio.
It's fabulous, isn't it? It looks like a little house on the prairie. I think it's great. Okay, well, viewers, we're in Rosie's studio right now. And Rosie happens to be a pastel artist, and from what I know, reading your bio as well, you actually used to be a doctor as well at one stage.
I did, funnily enough.
So when did you decide to go from a doctor to being an artist?
I became an artist 6 years ago,
Okay.
and medicine I'd moved on a little bit from earlier on when I started to have kids.
And you just sort of, there was an epiphany of some sort that you said, you know, I've been a successful doctor, but now I really want to be a successful artist. Is that right?
Yeah. I learned something, a tool that said, well, you know, you can make your life what you want. And I discovered that I really like doing art. I thought, well, being an artist would be great. That's what I'm going to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I can see that you're a pastel artist as well. You've actually made a start on one of the pictures for us. Now, tell me a little bit about this young lad here. You actually know him from the Northern Territory, is that right?
I haven't met him personally. A friend of mine went and lived with his family.
Yeah.
And his name is Magamba, and he's from a little community right up. It's about 6 hours south of Darwin, 6 hours drive, in quite a remote little area.
Yeah.
And he lives in a town called Wuricapildiera.
Okay. It sounds like something in Mexico, is that? But it's a really iconic looking photo, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
it's just
and
fabulous.
what a beautiful child.
Yeah, he's amazing. So, describe to me actually how you start to do what you do. I mean, you actually set this out in a graph form. Is that how you normally go about it?
My drawing up process is quite analytical, really. It's like I want it to look like this. I love the photograph and I want to capture the essence of that photo.
Sure.
So I spent quite a lot of time in the drawing up, and also the choice of the colour for the background. I choose something, because there's quite a lot of choice in the colours that you can choose from.
Sure.
Choose something that's going to enhance the natural colours.
Yeah, and what is the texture of this paper here? I mean, it's almost like a really light sandpaper, isn't
It is. It's a textured paper, and because they call it, you know, like the tooth in the paper. It's so enables you to layer the effects of the pastel, and the greater the tooth, the more pastel it holds on to.
That looks wonderful.
So it's like getting a Latin long for a map. You have to have the coordinates in both directions to get exactly the right spot on the picture.
And you have actually discovered a little trick with the calculator.
An artist taught me, if you press, so what I've done is the ratio for what I've expanded this by, so I'm increasing this photo by 2.5 times, and you just calculate that according to the size of your paper. And on the calculator, if you press, so it's increased by 2.5, and then you just go times twice, And then whatever your measurement you want, say at 8 centimeters, you press 8, press equals, and it gives you the number. And then you press the next number, 7 equals, 6 equals, and it just gives you the number straight up.
That's wonderful.
So, and it really helps me to look. And if I'm doing the measurements like that, it really just helps me to look and see what's really there.
Sure.
You have to look closer and closer to get the little points.
Using modern technology to get the results you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just using the one, it's a pastel pencil you've got there, is that correct?
It's called a Carbothello pencil, and it's you can get lots of different shades in these pencils, and then I just choose whichever suits the purpose. And it's good for drawing up and also for finer detail later on in the work.
Okay.
Yeah. And in this type of drawing up, always go from the same side. So always, I'm going from the left and the bottom, always go from there and there. Don't suddenly sort of change and think, oh, you measure from the cheek going in or measure from the side of the nose going in. You always go back to your original starting point.
So your main theme with your pieces is really portraiture.
I love doing portraits. It's just something I find very interesting about people's faces. And I find it, I like landscapes, and I like, other images, flowers and things like that, but there's just something very interesting about people's faces. And to capture that in a painting, it's just an awesome thing. And especially the expression on their face. Like, what is it that you can capture in a painting that conveys a mood or an expression? I reckon it's fascinating. So I look for some symbolism in the artwork that I'm doing. In this photograph, there's quite a lot that stood out to me. There's like a little boomerang-shaped shadow here under his eye. There's a little boomerang-shaped shadow of light there above his nose, here in his lip. He's also got a little heart-shaped light on his ear there. They're just little things that convey some deeper message in the artwork. It's always good to step back and see your work from a distance, see if everything's working okay.
Rosie, I've noticed with the pastels that they're always sort of quite large at the end. It's like having a giant pencil in your hand. So how do you get the really fine detail? What do you do?
You don't. That's why my paintings are so chunky. No, it's one of the difficulties with pastels can actually be finding a fine point to work with to get the really precise detail. There's a couple of things that you can do to help with that. You can snap your pastel and work with the sharp edge. You can, some of the other pastels have got they're a lot harder, and they can give a cleaner line. Or else the Carbothello pencils that I was using earlier, you can sharpen them to a finer point. It's important to look at where the light falls. There's usually light actually comes through the front of the eyeball. It's translucent, and then it falls on a point opposite that within the eyeball itself. What I'm going to do now is the underpainting. And these colours might look quite unusual or strident, but it's just to give, when the actual work's finished, they will just give a suggestion from underneath, but it gives it a brightness and a depth. So don't be, well, I reckon there's always a stage in a painting where you think, oh my goodness, it's not going to work out. What am I doing? And you just have to work through that, and then it will start to work again. And part of giving way to the creative process is, because it does go beyond your thinking mind, is to let yourself go with it. And if I drop a pastel, or I look for it on the table and I can't find it, you can either keep on searching and be committed to using that particular colour, or else you can think, is that really the colour I need? Perhaps another colour would work better. And actually use the whatever is guiding you to think, oh well, perhaps I should change, or perhaps I should use a different colour, change direction. The pastels have different qualities, so I choose different brands for different stages of the work. The major ones I use there's Rembrandt, Art Spectrum, and then there's ones called Schminky. And these ones are a lot softer in nature, and then a lot more of it goes on to the paper. So what I was saying earlier about the tooth of the paper, you generally use the hard ones first up, and so it doesn't put too much of a thick layer on, and then you work towards the softer ones at the end.
So do you work from your darks to your lights with pastels, or the other way around?
I start with the darks. I usually do an underpainting, and as you'll see a little bit later in the painting, I do an underpainting so the colours are just in different tones, but then work from the darkest tones up to the highlights and the brightest layers. This is a beautiful jacaranda blue, it's called. And I just add a little bit of that because that's reflecting the colour of the sky just on the soft skin on his back. And you start to blend it in, and then what looked like a big mess shortly before starts to look like resembling what you're actually trying to represent. And it's important to keep on cleaning the pastel off your finger, otherwise you find if you go here and then go here, you end up with a big dot like that, messing your work up. And as it turns out, it's alright because that's actually the turn of his shoulder there. So it's meant to have a black dot there. So as you can see, I use the tip of my finger a lot for blending. There's also another little instrument that you can use that's just made out of paper. You just always have to make sure the tip of it's clean. And then the fine point you can use for blending in intricate places like around the eyelid. And just push the colour around.
It's for those finer areas, is that correct?
For the areas where you need finer detail. I'm going to move to doing the sky now, put in some of that pale background colour, so it's a good idea to have the paper all cleaned up so your colours don't muddy together. I'll take out this reference line, I don't need that anymore. One of the things that appeals to me about this image is the sense of space and the freedom in it. So I like to try and get the sense of distance and like the distant sky. So I've got that feel of spaciousness around him. And it's good the hair will cover this area later on, but there's parts of the hair that will, in the gaps you can see the sky behind. So it's good to bring that in close so you're not having to fill in the gaps later on. Then that's when I blend them to create the effect of the distance, just using the side of my hand.
As you can see, Rosie's really moved on with her picture. It's quite extraordinary. Happy with it, Rosie?
Hey, I am. I love seeing it emerge.
Looks great, really.
Seeing this new creation come into being.
That is definitely a wild head of hair. If only I could be that lucky.
He's got a great set of curls. Really, it adds to the wildness of the shot. So I'll establish the darkest darks in the hair. Just 3 colours, so you choose, I'll go now to a dark, a mid-tone and then a light. Not to complicate it too much, you don't want it to look too busy.
Rosie, I'd really like to thank you for having us today at your wonderful studio and for creating this amazing piece here. There's a bit of a story behind this. Can you tell it to us?
There is. This little boy's name is Magampa, and he comes from a tiny community in the Northern Territory. His people are the Brinken people, and the language they speak is Maratiel. And then his dad is from Timber Creek, where they speak another language. And one day I'd love to go and visit them there. A friend of mine, Marcus Hewitson, took the photograph. But I'd like to thank them because it's wonderful to be able to do a painting of a beautiful child.
Obviously now being our traditional landholders as well, I think it's very important.
Yeah, to acknowledge them.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to see more of Rosie's work, you can come to the website colourinyyourlife.com. Thank you once again, Rosie, and hopefully we'll see more of your beautiful work around as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, if you want to see more of these artists, you can go to colourinyyourlife.com.au. And until we meet again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. See you next time. Some of the great artists from Colour in Your Life are going to be at Sea Gallery November the 1st, James Street, Fortitude Valley in Brisbane for an exhibition. Come along and see these amazing artists in the one place. Sea Gallery, 1st of November, Brisbane. See you there, guys.